A very good evening to Sir Mehan and my fellow friends. Today my group will present about the most admired leader, which is Alexander the Great. Here are the list of the group members, and here are the list of the contents that we will talk about today. So, the contents are background, major contribution and success, challenges and struggles, review about action and method, topics related to Alexander the Great, and the conclusion. A very good evening to Sir Mehan and my fellow friends. Today my group will present about the most admired leader, which is Alexander the Great. Here are the list of the group members, and here are the list of the contents that we will talk about today. So, the contents are background, major contribution and success, challenges and struggles, review about action and method, topics related to Alexander the Great, and the conclusion.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to Sir Mehan and my fellow friends. So I am Narsana as an assistant manager of this group who would like to present to all of you about the background of the Alexander the Great and also major contribution and successes that Alexander had from his history. I will start with the background first. So today I will talk about who is Alexander the Great, where was the Great from, how he conquered most of the cities and win battles, his final battle, and when he returned to his hometown and his death. So first of all, who is Alexander the Great? Alexander the Great was an ancient Macedonian ruler and one of the history's greatest military minds who, as king of Macedonia and Persia, established the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen. By turns charismatic and ruthless, brilliant and power-hungry, diplomatic and bloodthirsty, Alexander inspired such loyalty in his men. They had to follow him anywhere and if necessary die in the process. Though Alexander the Great died before realizing his dream of uniting a new realm, his influence on Greek and Asian culture was so profound that it inspired a new historical epoch, the Hellenistic period. Next is, where was Alexander the Great from? So Alexander the Great was born in Pella, Macedonia in 365 back century to King Philip II and Queen Olympia since at the age Queen Olympias. Since at the age of 12, Alexander showed impressive courage when he tamed the wild horse Bucephalus, an enormous stallion with a furious demeanor. The horse became his battle companion for most of Alexander's life. Next, conquer. Just 20 years old, Alexander claimed the Macedonian throne and killed his rivals before they could challenge his sovereignty. He also quashed rebellions for independence in northern Greece. Once he had cleaned the house, Alexander left to follow in his father's footsteps and continue Macedonia's world domination. So Alexander and his men encountered a massive Persian army led by King Darius III near the town of Issus in southern Turkey. Alexander's forces were greatly outnumbered in men, but not in experience or the determination for revenge and to claim Persia's great wealth, much of it plundered. As it became clear Alexander would win the Battle of Issus, Darius fled with the remnant of his troops, leaving his wife and family behind. By now, it was clear that Alexander was a shrewd, ruthless, and brilliant military leader. In fact, he never lost a battle in his life. He would build an empire on the back of his motto, which is, "There is nothing impossible to him who will try." Next is Alexander's final battle and return to Persia and his death. After surviving battle after a fierce battle, Alexander the Great returned to Persia and died in June 323 back century at age of 32. So some historians say Alexander died of malaria or other natural causes. Others believe he was poisoned. Either way, he never named a successor. His death and the bloody infighting for control that happened afterwards unraveled the empire he fought so hard to create. Many conquered lands retained the great influence Alexander introduced, and several cities he founded remain important cultural centers even today. So the period of history from his death to 31 back century when his empire folded would come to be known as the Hellenistic period from Hellesate, which means to speak Greek or identify with the Greeks. Alexander the Great is revered as one of the most powerful and influential leaders the ancient world ever produced. So that's it about the background of Alexander the Great, and I will continue with the major contributions and successes by the Alexander the Great. So after conquering most of the cities during that time, it contributed to the Alexander by and make that made by the Alexander in achieving his goals. So conquering all the cities, including Egyptian city, Greece, Athens, and Thebes, proved to the other people that Alexander should be praised as a great leader as he had very neat and strong military plans in pursuing his goals together with his followers. So while conquering the cities and states, he also used the chance to successfully spread Greek culture, especially around Greece. After besieging and conquering all cities in Greece, Alexander took an opportunity to spread his culture around his colonial areas since he had been taught by Philip, his father. So moreover, he also succeeded by unite his people by using marriage in order to tie the conquered and conquerors together. So I think that is all from me. I pass back to Nuria to share about the challenges and struggles faced by the Alexander in achieving his dreams.
Now I will explain about the challenges and struggle faced by the leader. So there are many challenges are faced by Alexander the Great in achieving his goals. First, when he want to attempt to conquer Tyre. Alexander the Great experienced great challenges when attempting to conquer Tyre, which is the great trade city of Phoenicia. The Phoenicians were known to be a pacifist culture and people. However, if they were attacked, they would defend their city and people at all costs. The second challenge is when one event took place at Hydaspes, which devastated Alexander and resulted in the death of his beloved horse Bucephalus. It's unclear if it died from battle wounds or of old age. Alexander named the city of Bucephala after it. So the third challenges is that Alexander's close friend died. Alexander's close friend worked as a bodyguard and general for Alexander the Great. He died suddenly from fever. His death caused a drastic change in Alexander's personality. Abernethy said that Alexander had always been a heavy drinker and substance abuse began to take its toll. He started to lose his self-control and compassion for his men. He also became reckless, self-indulgent, and inconsistent, which caused a loss of loyalty among his men and officers. And the last challenge is he failed to provide, and here, a hubristic dream of world conquest led Alexander to neglect the empire he ruled. He ignored his health to the point of contributing to his early death. He failed to provide an heir, refused to design an adult successor.
Okay, we move to the next part, which is review about the actions and methods used by Alexander the Great. In achieving the goals, everyone will find thousands of ways to make it possible. The same goes to Alexander the Great. He chose his own way to make sure his goal of conquering and maintaining his influence can be achieved. For example, in 336 before century, Alexander's father, Philip, was assassinated by his bodyguard Pausanias. Just 20 years old, Alexander claimed the Macedonian throne and killed his rivals before they could challenge his sovereignty. Alexander uses kill as the method in order to avoid being challenged by his rivals. As we look at the positive sides from this example, it is proven that Alexander is actually a proactive person. He chose to kill his rival first before his rivals can make a strategic plan to beat Alexander and his sovereignty, as his father was killed, and it symbolizes the weakness, as Alexander did not realize his father's bodyguard's hidden agenda. The value of proactiveness can be emulated by people, especially young generations, in order to live a good and peaceful life. By being proactive, we can make sure our responsibility has been done early, and we can finish the other work without thinking about the consequences when not done the other work, other than avoiding being rushed. Another example is in 338 before century. Alexander saw the opportunity to prove his military worth and led a cavalry against the sacred band of Thebes, a supposedly unbeatable select army made up entirely of male lovers during the Battle of Chaeronea. Alexander put his vigor and bravery on display, and his cavalry decimated the sacred band of Thebes. This shows that Alexander has many good qualities or characteristics, for instance courage, and a good leader who leads his army very well. This will bring great value to the youth. This is because the youth can learn to add courage in their lives so that they can face challenges very well.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to all. So my name is Shahril Afzal bin Zainal Abidin with matrix number 210063, and today I will present topics related to the history of Alexander the Great, which are groups and themes and also values and attitudes. So moving on to the first topic, which is groups and themes. During the era of Alexander the Great, he had allowed and absorbed foreigners into his army and administration. This policy is done to strengthen his army and his government, as different types of people have different types of knowledge and specialty. So Alexander wanted to utilize the foreigners' expertise to ensure his empire becomes stronger each day. In the same time, inviting foreigner will create trust issues. So to overcome this problem, he had encouraged marriage between his people and the foreigners. Secondly, Alexander had also created a well-rounded executive team by giving his trust to his commander and give them space to build their own team and strength. Lastly, Alexander the Great is a well-known ruler because of his cunningness and for being a brilliant tactician during war. This is because he knows the strength and the weaknesses of his army. So during the war with Persians, Alexander had chosen a narrow place as the Persian had greater number of army as compared to his. So he wanted to make use of this narrow place as his advantage and weaknesses to the enemy. So moving on to the value and attitude. First, opposites Schwartz values. So in history, Alexander the Great had an openness to change value. So this was shown in the history where Alexander the Great adopted the Persian custom and also dress into his life, although he was a Macedonian. However, Alexander also had a friend named Cletus who has an opposite value, which is conservative value. So Cletus did not agree with Alexander for adopting foreign customs, and he wanted Alexander to be loyal and stick with the Macedonian ways. As a result of these two contradictory values, Alexander the Great had killed his friend Cletus. So this has proven Schwartz values theory, which told us that opposite values may affect the connection between the manager and the employee, and it will also affect the performance of the company. So it is advised to search for someone who has the same value as the company's objective to ensure the employee will give full commitment to the job. Second, employee engagement way. So during conquering era of Alexander, he had practiced one philosophy that was influenced by his teacher Aristotle, which stated that the Greeks are not required to force those who are being conquered to practice the Greek culture. This philosophy makes Alexander to take political autonomy only from those he had conquered and let them live with their own culture and way of life. So this is related to the employee engagement ways as the manager who can gain trust and have good two ways of communication with the employees will result in increased employee performance and well-being. And also, employees will give 100% focus towards their work, and in result, it would benefit the company. Lastly, Alexander the Great also had a counterproductive work behavior. When his close friend Hephaestion died suddenly because of fever, he had lost his self-control, his compassion for his men. He becomes a heavy drinker. So he also becomes reckless, self-indulgent, and inconsistent, which result in losing the loyalty from his men and officers. So his counterproductive work behavior had influenced him to make a big mistake by making a decision to cross an uninhabited desert, which had cost him three-quarters of his troops who died along the journey. So this counterproductive behavior is related to organization as if a manager have a bad attitude, it will not only harm himself but also the whole organizations. So that's all from me. I'll pass to the next presenter.
I will present about the topic related with Alexander the Great, which is motivation. Based on Alexander's story, we found that his motivation is parallel with Magellan's theory of need. The need of power became a motivation to Alexander. This shows when he sees his stepmothers and step-siblings as a threat to his own position. From that situation, he was motivated to conquer a huge empire that stretched from the Balkans to modern-day Pakistan and also being a king of Macedonia. People with a high need for power like to work and concerned with discipline and self-respect. Besides, this can be reinforced further when Alexander's father, King Philip, goes on the campaign. He decides to leave Alexander at the age of 16 in charge of Macedonia. At that time, Alexander took the advantage of the opportunity by Thracian people called the Mede and founding Alexandropolis, a city he named after himself. This shows that Alexander wanted appreciation from his colonies by putting his city's name with his name. So I move to the last part, which is conclusion. Based on Alexander's motto, which is there is nothing impossible to him who will try. The value that we can take from Alexander's motto is he was brave to try. For example, he took over the Phoenician city of Meredith and Aradis and was in charge of Macedonia at the age of 16. From this, we can learn that as a student, we need to go out of our comfort zone by trying new things like taking responsibility to handle a program, join debate competition, or be a student's representative. Besides, if we are followers, we are brave to advise our leader if he makes a mistake politely, or we are brave to give our opinion to our team. Also, Alexander was able to consistently defeat enemy armies and expand his kingdom because of his proactive preparation and logical approach to warfare. The value from Alexander that we can follow is consistency. We should be consistent to do good things in our life so that we and others get the benefit. Furthermore, we should be consistently do what we want to achieve no matter what happens. That's all from me. Thank you.
So, I am Narsana, Media Spiridane, matrix number 213049. So, what actually I got from this subject from MGM 3113 Group 1 Organizational Behavior by Sunila Mehan. Actually, I learned a lot, especially on how I, as a human being, to become a better version of myself. Other than learning outcomes that I had learned from the past 14 weeks in this class, I learned how to become a human who know how to manage myself in whatever and wherever situation that I am facing. I also learned to become more proactive, tolerant, creative, and can lead myself in the situation. I think that it is a need. I believe this course really helped me in improving myself in this journey. I also would like to thank Sir Mehan for his patience in teaching me and my friend during this semester. So I think that's all from me. I pass to the next person. Greetings to Samihan and everyone. My name is Nur Fadila and I have taken MGM 3113 Organizational Behavior under Samihan this semester. Over the course of this subject, the best takeaway from my future is I got to know myself better as I could know my personality and list my strengths and weaknesses. For example, I have to had done the personality test recommended by Sir Mehan. The result I got described me very well and I got to know some things that are unexpected but it is accurate. Furthermore, I know the best learning method that fits my personality, which I will do during study week for this semester's final examination. Also, the jobs that are suitable for my personality also give me guidance for applying for the right job in the future. The most important thing is we must know ourselves before we get to know other people and the world. Thank you, Samihan, for guiding me in knowing myself and for giving input in this subject.
The best, the best takeaway from MGM 3113 for my future is about believe in myself, my potential, my strength, so that I can keep continuing in what good things that I did and others people harsh word did not hesitate me to achieve my goal. That's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First and foremost, I want to thank Sir Mehan for teaching me in this semester. I am so interested in your coaching session because you always teach us on how to be a better person and a better human being rather than just teaching us about organizational behavior until the end of the semester. Your coaching session has helped me to learn more about myself and to know my ability and weaknesses. And I think that is the most important thing that I learned in this MGM 3113. And also, it is the best takeaway from this uh, organizational behavior. Once again, I would like to thank Samihan for teaching me a lot of beneficial information, and I hope I can use all the information to be a better person in the future. Thank you, and thank you.
Um, my name is Nuramin Halima Ali binti Mazlan. I would like to say that there are so many things that I have learned in these lectures. One of the best takeaway from MJM 3113 from my future is gain my confidence in speaking with other people and in front of my classmates. I am really afraid to talk or present in front of others before this. Now I am less afraid. This lecture also helps me to become a leader. I am not really good in leading people, especially when doing this group project, but I can experience and learn how to be a leader. I would like to say thank you for giving me this chance and give me some great information in this lecture.